Hey, how you doing? I'm Dave Fennoy, and I don't know why, but here I am with Jimbo and Jeff, and I'm really enjoying this. I think you will too.
Welcome to the Jimbo and Jeff podcast.
Never have you known such cringing terror.
The Jimbo and Jeff podcast. Now, here's Jimbo and Jeff.
Hello.
Jimbo and Jeff.
Wow, live from Mars.
What galaxy are you joining us from, Dave?
What? Wait! Oh no! Oh no!
We know how this is going to go.
Oh, it's Jeff and Jimbo.
How are you, Dave? Nice meeting you.
Great. My pleasure, Jim. I've heard some wonderful things about you.
Well, not for me.
But I was going to say Jeff lies a lot. So.
Exactly. No, so is it, Jimbo, is this your first time to meet Dave?
First time I've met him, the only brush of greatness I've had with him is being on the same website next to him on Randy Morrison's Connection Open website.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Okay. Well, Dave, before we get started, I just want to throw out to you, no rules, no anything. We just have some fun here, and we appreciate you joining us.
Okay, so I can cuss like a sailor. Is that what you're telling me?
A drunken sailor, preferably.
It's just when Jimbo and I put it together, I have to do the check mark on Apple Podcast. Explicit.
No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
No, it's all good.
It's my terrible sense of humor.
Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody to the Jimbo and Jeff podcast. We have a very special guest today. Everybody knows what a career it spans. A lot of people, especially in voiceover, they know this man: radio, video games, film, print, TV, demo producer. In my opinion, arguably the best VO coach, instructor, teacher. But the bottom line is this: no one has the coolest hair that this man has. This man certainly needs no introduction. Mr. Dave Fennoy, thank you for joining us today on the Jimbo.
Where is he?
Podcast.
Is he here? Oh, it's me. Okay.
Oh,
Jeff and Jimbo, how you doing?
I like how you say Jeff and Jimbo.
I like it too.
Well,
Is it Jimbo and Jeff?
It's Jimbo and Jeff, but that's okay. We could do it for this.
Say I knew you. I knew Jeff first. So.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so Jimbo and Jeff.
Jimbo and Jeff. So Dave, here's kind of the. We want to know your story. So.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Well, I started off.
We got you now.
Baby.
We got you now. So. We want to know your story. For instance, like Dave, you can start us off. We'll do. I was born here. I went to this high school. The high school mascot was this. The high school colors were whatever you want to throw in there. Jimbo and I will have some fun with you, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Well, let's see. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, which isn't a bad town now, but when I was a kid, it was the armpit of the nation. I mean, man. Fortunately, somebody came along with some deodorant, but not till after Lake Erie died because it had been so polluted. But it came back. And one of my earliest childhood memories was wondering, why did my parents settle in Cleveland? Why can't I be in a real city like New York, Chicago, L.A.? I had Detroit on the list, but I pulled it off because it became a hole after a while.
So, Dave, let me interrupt. But your dad was a World War II Army officer. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. He was a first lieutenant, Army Corps of Engineers. Did service in World War II, and was in Italy and the Philippines.
Did you live in Italy with him at the time, or was that during World War II?
I was just a wink and a wiggle at that point. I had not been conceived. Trying to say I was around during World War II. What are you trying to say? I know I got a lot of gray hair. I know, but come on, man. The wrinkles aren't there that would.
Well, he could have had a tour of duty after World War II.
Well, no, once World War II was over, he retired from the military, or honorable discharge, and went to veterinary school and became a veterinarian. And I remember asking him, one time said, "Dad, why did you become an animal doctor instead of a people doctor?" He said, "Well, I like animals more than I like people." And
Ah.
So that would be a veterinarian.
yeah, a veterinarian. Yeah.
Yes.
Say that 5 times as fast as you can.
Exactly.
But no, he actually, I'm kind of painting a bad picture of him with that comment. I like that. He was a good guy. And ultimately, he was the first Black veterinarian to have a private practice in Cleveland, Ohio. Fortunately, my mother was a school teacher, or we would have gone broke. You know, you got a veterinary shop in the hood, and a lot of people didn't bring their dogs to the veterinarian until they were on their last legs, and sometimes they didn't make it, you know, and you can see the conversation. The guy comes in, so, well, your dog died, that'll be $300. So, well, why I got to pay $300? The dog is dead. Well, I used the drugs. I did everything I could. It's not well, if your dog lives, you pay, but if your dog dies, it's just on me. But so he looked for something else to do. He went to work in Ohio, part of the federal meat processing inspection program, and worked his way up. By the time I went to high school, well, even before I'd gone to high school, he became a foreign programs officer for USDA and got to travel the world. And when he retired, I think it was 1985, he was in charge of South America. So now he did well, but you don't make billions working for the government. But it was a good life, and he and my mom got to travel a lot. And when I was a freshman in college, much to his dismay, he invited me to come stay with him over the summer when he was stationed in Copenhagen, Denmark. And of course, you can imagine freshman in college, you know, you're into all the stuff everybody else is into, but not the adult stuff. They had a job for me at the commissary in the embassy there, which once he's got to look at me and say, "No, we're not taking you." I had a big afro, and you know, I was wearing a lot of hippie clothes and whatnot. So it was like,
That's the picture I want to see. Do we have that picture somewhere?
Oh, I have some. I'm glad I didn't send them to you.
Okay. Maybe next time. Maybe next time we'll do that.
You know, I'm a fairly upstanding citizen now, but I've had my moments.
I think we've all had our moments, but next time I want to see that picture, Dave.
Okay.
All right.
Oh.
So you're in school, and did you? I think you said you got into radio. Is that how you really started in?
Yeah. Now, how did we leave Cleveland? So you left
that's right.
Cleveland. Well, did you do high school in Cleveland?
I did high school in Cleveland. I went to a private boys' school, Hawkins School for Boys. I was at that time, it would have been a Negro firster, but we're not Negroes anymore. But I was the first Black kid to go to this school, and quite a few others joined after me. And it was one of the most interesting and one of the best experiences of my life, because it prepared me for so much. I was growing up in a Black neighborhood in Cleveland. Now, I'm growing up in the 60s, so the civil rights movement is going on when I'm a little kid. Integration is just beginning to happen when I'm a little kid. The neighborhood I grew up in, pretty good neighborhood, middle-class Black neighborhood, but you go 3 or 4 blocks in one direction, and now you're in the Black poor neighborhood. You go 3 or 4 blocks in the other direction, now you're in the Black rich neighborhood. So I had my buddy Leroy Creighton, whose father owned a sausage company that was a 5-state concern. He was a millionaire, lived in a mansion. And a few blocks the other way, Butch and Milton, who lived with their grandmama, and I'm not sure they ever knew who their daddy was, but, you know, we all figured out ways that we played together. I was kind of the go-between. Butch and Milton didn't get along with Leroy. Leroy couldn't get along with them, but all of them got along with me. So, I'd go play with Leroy, and, he had all the great toys and the trains and the go-kart cars, and then, he'd go hang out with Butch and Milton. We're walking through the park, and we're, blowing up our cars with firecrackers, and, just climbing trees and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Playing football.
So growing up, I'm sure Jim Brown. I mean, we're going to talk Cleveland Browns. I mean, Jim Brown.
Man.
I mean, arguably, if not the greatest. And that's, I hate to say it, but that's kind of like one of the last time the Browns were were very good. That's
we want to remember him from then.
Yes. Yeah. No. Oh, okay. well,
he's had some ups and downs, and lately it hasn't been the best look.
Okay.
But Jim Brown I was a big fan of Jim Brown. Still, one of my best memories was watching him score a 5-yard touchdown where it looked like they had him down, one hand down on the ground, but he kept going and pushed through 3 or 4 people, knocking them over to get into the end zone. He was a big hero of mine, and I remember he had some issues with women. And I remember there's one point where apparently he threw some woman out of a hotel window, and I just couldn't believe it because it was Jim Brown. It was my hero. And of course, as I got older, I discovered, well, he was a great football player. He actually became, in many ways, a great advocate for civil rights from time to time. But nobody's perfect.
Yeah, and I remember the Dirty Dozen. Do you remember that movie?
Oh yeah.
Dirty Dozen was one of the first movies. I mean, that was, and gosh, look who's in that: Ernest Borgnine, Lee Marvin, Jim Brown, Teddy Savalas. That's one of the.
That's interesting because that he had a fairly successful movie career.
Yes.
And like a lot of athletes who become actors, I wouldn't say he was a great actor, but he knew his range. And they never put him in something beyond what he could do later on in life. He's, I'm trying to remember the film, but he's playing an old black movie hero along with a few others. And it's a very funny movie. So he's had an interesting life, but he will always have a warm spot in my heart because he's Jim Brown from the Cleveland Browns.
Well, the original Cleveland Browns. So we get out of high school. Next step, where do we go? San Francisco?
No, then I go off to Minnesota. I'm a theater major at McAllister College. I'm also playing music at the time. I got my guitar. I was a hummer and strummer, singer-songwriter. I'd been greatly influenced by both R&B and rock and roll at the time. Going to the private boys' school, I was immersed in some of everything. So I love the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, along with the Supremes and the Four Tops and the Temptations, Sly and the Family Stone. My musical taste was very eclectic. And one of the benefits from going to this school, sometimes if you grow up isolated from various groups of people, you have, if not a fear, a little hesitation about how you are to react to these people. You don't know them. You've got ideas about them that may or may not be true, but you're, kind of standoffish and I don't understand. You don't know their language. You don't know the things, their associations. Well, I knew everybody's association. I knew middle-class white America's associations as well as Black America's associations. So it allowed me to comfortably go wherever I needed to go, speak with whomever I needed to speak with. It was a benefit having kind of lived in both worlds.
Well, that's kind of a military upbringing. I grew up a military brat.
Yeah.
And that was instilled in you, not only because you're moving around every 3 years, but you have to know how to adapt. But
Oh, yeah.
but you, I mean, you're having to adapt with culture and, in that kind of situation. So you're at college, you're in the university, and you are into theater. Are you
Yeah,
doing?
I was a theater major. At McAllister College, a lot of money had been donated at that time when Reader's Digest. You remember that magazine? It's
Yes.
probably no longer with us. But Reader's Digest was huge, and the people behind Reader's Digest had donated millions and millions of dollars to McAllister College. They had built a fantastic art and theater center. So I was a theater major, and that was one of the reasons I picked that. The Guthrie Theater was over in Minneapolis, and at that time it was like, oh yes, I'm into theater. But I was also playing music, and I was in plays and doing okay, but I was also having a lot of fun. And I started performing at coffee houses and other colleges around the Twin Cities, and kind of changed my focus from theater to music. So after a couple of years, I dropped out of school because that was what people did then, man. I dropped out of school, went on the road for a couple of years as a musician. I moved to Boston for a while. I toured in the Northeast, went to Europe and played a little while there, came back. I had a cousin in Texas who was a record promoter and ended up in Tyler, Texas, the rose capital of the world.
Yes, indeed.
And I recorded an album, which you can't find anywhere. I recorded an album at Robin Hood Bryan's studio, the same place that ZZ Top recorded for years.
Okay, time out. Find album Dave recorded. Jimbo, I'm serious. We are going to find this album. Wow. Wow, keep going. I'll shut up. Keep going, Dave.
Oh, man, you just so much. Come on, Jimbo, you got a question?
No, so you got to Tyler.
Wow.
Did you spend any time in Tyler? I mean, really spend time?
I was in Tyler for about a year.
Okay.
And it,
With your cousin.
Well, I wasn't living at his house. He and his wife and his kids were in their own house, and I rented a nice little brick house in a nice little neighborhood that had never had a black guy living in it before. The guy across the street from me had a daughter. When I moved in, he sent her away.
I did 2 tours of Nacogdoches radio, so I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm laughing about it. It's somewhere inside it really hurts, but it's in the past now, so I can. And at the time, I didn't care about his daughter.
Yeah, Dave, let me ask you real quick. So you said you toured. I mean, you went to Boston, you did all these, and you went overseas and toured. Were you with a band, or were you?
No, this was just me.
Wow.
My acoustic guitar, songs I had written, and just doing my thing. Now, I wasn't making a lot of money. I don't want you to. I didn't have roadies. I was carrying my own equipment. But after being in Texas for about a year, the album had gotten done. I had taken a trip to Los Angeles to try to secure a deal. That didn't happen. So I said, well, if I'm going to do this music thing, I should probably get a degree in music, learn some more. So I went to Washington, where my parents were living now. They had moved from Cleveland to Washington when I graduated high school. And so I moved into them and went to Howard University, and I was in their jazz music program. And this is right after Donald Byrd left. He had a group, the Blackbirds. He had come in, gotten the jazz program going, created a hit-making band, and then left. But this was still an amazing program. And so I learned a lot. I had a band called Papers. Our message was Papers, rolling up the funk and delivering the message.
We want that on a T-shirt by this afternoon. Let's do this.
Yeah.
No wonder you recorded at ZZ Top's studio.
No, that was before. That was just me.
Okay.
But we recorded an album as well that also I went back to Los Angeles to try to sell that one, and we don't know it about you guys. But I got married while I was living in DC and going to school. My first wife, I'm on my 10th now. No, only on 2. But my first wife and I got married in 76. No, it was 78. Well, I don't remember now. It was so long ago. But in 1980, she was in science, and she got into the PhD program at UC Berkeley for plant physiology. And by this time, we've got a daughter. She's 6 months old when we move out there. The music thing is beginning to fall apart. I think we all have kind of a time limit on things we want to do with our lives, and we may not know what that time limit is, but you get to a certain point and you realize, I've put in X number of years in this thing. It hasn't panned out for me. I need to do something else. When I went to California, I realized that I had already been making plans to exit a music career. And those plans were, I took the disc jockey course from Columbia School of Broadcasting.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by.
Absolutely. And you're still stuck in radio, aren't you, Jim?
Yeah, 27 years. It's like herpes. Once it's in your system, you can't get out of it.
What's that joke about? I have a brother in radio, and I have a cousin or I have a brother in radio, and my sister is a prostitute, and such and such and such. And I met this new girl. And I just want to know, how do I tell her I have a brother in radio?
Or a drummer.
Or a drummer, yeah. and it was also funny too, because once I got working in radio, I was married, and people like me, and I'd meet single women say, "Oh, Dave, you're such a nice guy, and some of your disc jockey buddies. Don't you want to? Could you introduce me to somebody you think I might like?" And baby, let me tell you something. I'm gonna save you some heartbreak right now. Forget anybody in radio. Oh.
So were you on the air? Is that what you were doing?
I was on
the
air.
They moved to San Francisco, right?
Yeah, this is after we moved to San Francisco. Right. And I started knocking on the doors. And of course, you're supposed to start in a tiny little town for your first radio station. And I just wasn't going to do it. And so I started knocking on the doors at the main stations there. I ended up taking a job as a continuity director. And I know but for your listeners, that's the person to make sure the right commercials play at the right time, because if that commercial for that sale that ends Monday plays on Wednesday, the station's got a problem. And it turns out I was real good at that. I was pretty organized, but I wanted to be on air. And the first station I actually had a real job at doing this was a country western station, KSAN in San Francisco. And I kept asking the program, hey, could I get a shot on air? I could work some overnights. And I just, I don't know why he didn't consider me. But after about 9 months there, I got a position on overnights at KSOL. Was that it, or the KDI? It was one or the other. I went to one of those stations. I think it was KSOL. I went to KSOL. The station had fired me because I shared some information with our two stations got together, the continuity director there. This was back in the day when we had tapes that had to be sent hither and yon. You got your commercial for them supposed to run. They didn't get theirs. You made a copy and sent it over. Well, this woman that worked over there, our station had bought their station. She was going to be fired at the end of the week. I knew it. She didn't. And so I called her because, we had shared tapes, but I'd never met her in person, but I just thought it'd be the nice thing. By the way, you're going to get fired on Friday. Now don't tell anybody. just start looking for a job. And she immediately hung up the phone. Wendy, I just found out from Dave Fennoy that I'm being fired. So
Soul crusher.
yeah, so they fired both of us. Oh no, you know what? And that's when I went over to KBLX KRE. I was their continuity director, and that's really where my voiceover career started. I would write commercials for the local commercials that the sales guys would go out and get, and I would get creative sometimes, and it would be more than just what the jocks could do. It'd be multi-voice spots and that, and I started producing them and doing them myself. The program director hated me, though. I don't know why. I think because of that, maybe. I don't know. Wouldn't let me on the air over there, and was really annoyed that I was able to have my voice on. I don't know why this guy didn't like me. But it was two stations, KBLX, KRE. And KRE was an AM station, and that program director did like me. So I started getting some work there. Then I started doing overnights at, I had a little station out in the boonies in Concord, where I had I'm your good buddy Dave. That was my...
Did you play country and western, or
country or western?
Well, this was more of a pop station that played a little bit of everything, but it worked out. It was way out in the boonies. You're out in a field in a trailer, and I had a dog. And if you left the door open, let your dog go in and out, the skunks might come in, which they did one time. I had a skunk come in. And he was trying to get away from my dog. And it was just about the time my shift was about to end. And he came in, and I'm in a room, I'm in the booth, there's a door there. And I just happened to see him go past my door deeper into the bowels of the station. And I'm thinking, oh my God, well, I was about to get off. I left my dog outside. And when I got off, I just left. And I don't know why. I guess I felt like I'd be responsible. I didn't tell the guy coming in after me that there was a skunk in the... Well, the truth is, I didn't like the guy. He had given me some mess. I was going to say the SHIT word, but we got an audience here that may not like that. He had given me some mess for weeks, and I just thought, okay, screw him. Yeah, all right, buddy. So I'm getting off at midnight. About 3:00 in the morning, I get a call from the station owner, manager, sales guy, small station. Hey, you know anything about a skunk in the building? What? Yeah. Oh, gosh, I don't know anything about it. Well, so-and-so says, oh, wow, that's terrible. And the place smelled for weeks after that. But before too long, I got a job overnights at KSOL, the #1 station in San Francisco. And they had two news guys named Dave Gilton and Dave Padilla. So the program director who hired me said, look, we don't need another Dave, okay? And I gave him a list of names after, he said, go home and figure out what you want to be. I gave him a list of names. He didn't like any of them. He calls me up as I'm about to leave the house for my first shift and realize this is back before cell phones there, Sonny. And he calls me up and he says, I got the name for you, Billy Ocean. And I go, Billy Ocean? Okay, whatever. So off I go. And so 107.7 KSOL, I'm a Billy Ocean. And I...
Billy Ocean.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this was, Jim, you'll love this. This was back when we were queuing up records and whatnot. Oh, man.
I did it.
Oh, yeah. And before too long, I had stayed there for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And I sat in, they had a gal that was doing mornings, and they fired her for cause. And they had me sit in doing mornings for about a year. They were looking and looking and looking, and the program director loved me. The music director, who, usually the program director is over the music director, they were like equal. And basically it got to be, okay, it's my turn to choose. And since you like him, I'm going to get somebody else. So they brought in a brother from Oklahoma who had been working at country music stations to this San Francisco king of the R&B stations. And the guy just didn't fit in. He lasted about a year, maybe two. I think his contract was for 2 years. Meanwhile, I'm doing mornings at KDIA, the boss of the Bay. I come back, and somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was before I left or after I came back, they brought me back to do mornings. This time I was the guy. And Billy Ocean, the singer, Caribbean Queen. And I got tired of these calls. Yo, Dave, or Billy, I love your record. No, it's not my record. But you're Billy Ocean, and the song is by Billy Ocean, dude. It's a different Billy. How can there be two Billy Oceans? I said, what's your name, man? My name is Fred Johnson. Well, Fred, do you think any place on the planet there could be another Fred Johnson? Oh yeah, I got it now, man. Okay, cool. But so I was a morning jock for a number of years there. Had a great time, loved radio, doing mornings. I got to play characters. I had a character, Lance Swisher. He was my entertainment reporter. So, you'd get up early and you do your homework. Who did this? Where's this going? What happened here? And so I would, with those carts, I'd write a script. And I would record Lance and myself, and you could push the button to record. And when you push the button to stop, it stops. And so you could play it in time. So I'd have these conversations with myself, and that went great. I had a couple of comedians from in town that also joined in on the madness. I got to interview a lot of celebrities. I got to host a lot of concerts and comedy shows with some of the best known Black acts and comedians. And along the way, I really discovered voiceover. I had discovered it years before. Somebody had told me, hey, there's, it was a buddy of mine. He was doing mornings when I was at KBLX. He was their morning guy, and he was leaving. Hey, where are you going? Oh, I'm going across town. I'm going to the city. We were in Berkeley. I'm going to the city, San Francisco, do some voiceover. I make more money at that than I do on the radio. And it never left me. It was like that thought balloon that kept coming back. And while I was at KSOL, I took some lessons. A woman, Lee Gilbert, from LA, so voiceover workshop one weekend. And at the end of it, she said, you're really talented. If you ever decide to come to LA, we'd love to represent you. And, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to do that, babe. I'm, the morning guy at KSOL right now, though. So let me get your card and maybe I'll give you a call. Well, about 3 months later, the station fired the whole staff, as radio stations are wont to do. Jimbo, you've been fired at a radio station, haven't you?
Yes, we have. My favorite's when they come and they just cut all the cords with a pair of scissors and take all the equipment. Say, if this happened, and if you want a job, you have to reapply by next Tuesday. Good luck.
Oh boy! And you knew you weren't going to get that job.
Of course.
Of course. My best firing was I was on the air at KRE, and they said, "Oh yeah, the general manager wants to see you." And I went upstairs and I said, well, I got a record on. And he goes, it's okay.
We'll handle it.
They let the station go dark. It was the AM side of two stations, and they just started simul broadcasting the FM. But I'd gotten that card, but I was a morning guy in the number one station in town. Well, we were number one, and then we're number two, and number one, number two. And I was doing fine, but then they fired the whole staff one day. And I had to go find that card. I know it's in a drawer here. So where did I put that? I finally found it, called her up. She said, yeah, put yourself together a new demo and come on down. And I did. And the rest is history.
Yes.
Geez, you guys let me run my mouth a long time.
Oh no, we still got more time. So
Oh yeah. So we arrive in LA and you've put your demo together.
Mhm.
What happens after that? How do we get to Lee Everett?
Oh,
How do we get to the just
that's a
take
couple.
off?
That's a couple hours from now. Lee Everett was. I mean, I didn't do Lee Everett till about 2012 is when that gig came through.
Okay.
We're talking about 1990. And when I came down, because of the radio thing, those of us who develop those radio chops, we've got that voice, we've got that thing we do. We can make words so wonderful. And so I had that radio thing. Of course, I thought, well, I've recorded thousands of commercials that I cared nothing about the product, but I could get that 70 seconds in 60, complete with phone numbers, directions to the place, and how much percentage off of each item you were going to make if you got there by Thursday at noon. But that's not really voiceover. That's radio. So the area that I was going to do best in was TV promos. And that's what I did. I did promos for CBS. I did promos for NBC, ABC, some of the news channels, CNN. I was one of the voices of the Disney Channel for a number of years. I had about a 5-year contract with them. And that was the majority of my work. And that's the best duty, actually, in terms of money making in voiceover. But I also was doing some cartoons. I played Bo Scott on the Pro Stars cartoon. It's Bo Scott, Michael Jordan, and what's the hockey guy?
Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky. And so that was a series. I had New Kids on the Block had a cartoon. Oh my God. And as a disc jockey, I hated New Kids on the Block. This is some band they put together. These aren't real singers.
That's my Geraldo at large. I did his promos for a while. I don't usually talk about it, so that's your New Kids on the Block. That's my Geraldo.
Oh yeah, and we've all done something that we've just. Oh, why am I doing this?
Hey.
Oh, because they're paying me.
Yeah, because the money still spends great. Thank you.
Yes, it does. So, yeah, as soon as I got the gig, I was playing Dick Scott, their manager. I was like, oh, I love New Kids on the Block now. So I had that going. I was guesting on a number of other cartoons. And this thing came along. One of my early gigs actually was a game, but it was a 976 number game. Remember the 976 numbers? I played RoboCop on this game, and people would call, and they paid me $2,500 to do that game. And I was like, And as the 90s progressed, I started getting other games. Lucasfilm had started doing games. I got to play Lando Calrissian in one of their games. I played 3 pod racers in their pod racer game, which is a whole other story on what that did to my voice for a week or two. World of Warcraft came along somewhere in there, and World of StarCraft and other games that I don't even remember. I wasn't thinking of it as hey, I'm doing video games now. It was just another form of animation to me. And after doing this for starting in the 90s, so about 2010 or so, 15 years, because I wasn't a gamer, I didn't realize that I'd been on some of the biggest games in the world. A guy sent me a video demo he had done of work I had done. Which you can, if you want to find video game demo stuff, you can go to YouTube, go to Twitter or Twitch, and, the gamers post their gaming, and your scenes are there. And he'd put together this thing. It was like, oh, I I didn't really know this is what it looked like. But I had him do a little nip and tucks there, and I sent it to my agent. She said, "Oh, we're getting this out." By that time, I had done 70 or 80 games, and that coincided with the growth of the industry. A year or so later, the Walking Dead game came along, and that was a crazy story. Well, not that crazy. It was just they had hired somebody else to play the character of Lee Everett. And apparently they had gone through the whole first episodes, 5 episodes in a season, and realized this guy isn't working. He was somebody's friend, had a great voice, but his acting chops weren't there. And I got a message, audition for this. They're looking for somebody. He's Southern, he was a college professor, killed his wife, is on his way to jail, and the zombie apocalypse frees him, and he takes care of a little girl. And we want very natural, real performances. And they said everybody else had been putting on some kind of real Southern thing. And I just did it as me. And a week later, ta-da! And that game, we won 100 Game of the Year awards. I was nominated for Best Performance in a Video Game several times, won a few, got to go to London. I was nominated for BAFTA. It was really a life-changing experience. I remember thinking to myself, this is a singular event. This may never happen again. Let me take it in. And well, so far it hasn't happened again.
Dave, on that character, I saw that there was a video that you were telling the story about how you touched somebody's life in a video game. You remember that story?
There have been few, but the one I think you're talking about, sometimes you're doing, my sister is a doctor and always used to tease, oh, you're doing the real work. I'm just having fun. But The Walking Dead had come out, and I've been invited now to my first conventions. And at one of these conventions, mom comes up with her little boy, and she just says, I want to thank you because my son is autistic, and sometimes he just gets into fits. And the only thing that calms him down is your voice. And, he was, he hugged me and just was, and so every now and then I send them a little, I haven't sent them one in a while. You reminded me I'll have to do that. Every now and then I'll send them a little videotape or MP3 of me just saying hello to him. That, I would get notes back. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think they have moved. He's gotten better. If you work with autistic kids, they can become citizens who function. If you don't, they might not. But I also find that in a lot of them, there's some genius buried in there. And if you just give them the opportunity, if you just explore, be interested, put them in positions where they can learn something. If that's not working, find another place. I mean, it's more work than with a usual kid, but so many of them have so much to offer.
But how powerful is that you touched his life in a way that changed his life?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we in voiceover, we go from a gig to a gig, a script to a script, without really thinking about that. So when I saw that video of you, that was precious, man.
Oh, thank you. And I see that so often with people that somehow you have replaced a father figure or shown somebody through playing this part how to be a father, and you don't know. I never thought of my work as being the kind of thing to change people's lives. It's just entertainment. But we find out entertainment so often is so much more. Jimbo, you on the air, you've got people listening to you every day that like, wow, I know him. That's my friend.
Right. Yeah. And you connect with them every single day and they get to know you and now through social media, you get to know them, and it's a symbiotic
Oh,
relationship.
get to know them. Oh no! Oh no!
What? Yeah. I used to have a friend that listened, and his name was Terry, and he was challenged, but he would call me up. Hello, Jimbo. How are you today?
Oh yeah.
And you just get to know these people by their first and last names, and but yeah, I love that story of you touching that
Yeah.
small kid's heart.
You know, I remember there was a kid in my neighborhood when I was little, and the guys I ran with, we really treated that kid terribly. His nickname was Bug, and at the time you don't know that, this kid is damaged. This kid has social problems, mental problems. He was just the weird kid that I remember the worst thing I think we did. He got his report card and we stole it from him, and so he couldn't take it home. And we just made fun of him. And it's one of those things in my life that I am so ashamed I did as a kid. I'm not going to say I didn't know any better. It's like washing dishes when you're a kid. That first apartment you have, and you're hanging with your boys, and you got to, and nobody wants to wash the dishes or clean the house. You got to grow past that, and to see some of these kids now, and what they actually can become, and what, how much they can offer society if we embrace them and train them, give them their opportunities. We wouldn't do it. We wouldn't be mean to them. And I know a lot of people, oh yeah, everybody's trying to be so politically correct. And I just think, no, people are trying to be nice, trying to uplift instead of tear down. That's what I try to do.
Get so much more done with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Dave, before I forget, I wanted to wear speaking of video games,
Atari,
my Atari t-shirt for you there. And speaking of all those things, Dave, you've been a big influence in my life, and you're not going to make me cry, Dave. I'm not going to cry, but you have been a guiding influence, and not just a teacher or instructor, but someone more like a friend. If you really think about it, you only have a couple of friends in this life, true friends, people that you can really share. You're lucky if you have 5.
Yeah.
And I want people to know, I did not have a good relationship with my dad, who just passed away, but Dave, you had encouraging words for me, and I really appreciate that. So with all that said, folks, life's about learning your lessons, but also how are you treating people? And that's probably the biggest lesson of all. And we appreciate you sharing and telling us your story today. And I mean, be honest with you, Dave, there are several things Jimbo and we did not know. Wow, we thought we knew Dave Fennoy. I mean, I'm going to go back and look this stuff up, and I'm going to find that album too. But no, it's I think you said it best. And if we can remember that day by day, moment by moment, gosh, I think we're going to be okay.
I hope so. We're a very divided country now. We believe in some very bizarre things, a lot of us. And I think if we can return to the golden rule, treat people the way you'd like to be treated. There are people who their lifestyle or who they are or what they are may not be something that I can understand or that I want to partake in or be a part of. That doesn't matter. That it's their life. And as long as, they're not keeping me from enjoying my life, and my just not understanding them certainly isn't keeping me from enjoying my life. I don't have to agree with all their choices or understand why they are the way they are. That doesn't matter. What matters is that I treat them with the same kind of respect and kindness and caring and deference that I would want to be treated with.
There's absolutely no better way to we could talk for another 2 hours. I'm going to be honest with you, but you are such an amazing person. You're very warm.
Oh,
The way that you reach out, and again, just seeing that video of you reaching out to that autistic boy. I mean, that it's not just words that are coming out of your mouth, because you are living that feeling and that love.
I try to. I think we all get to look at ourselves in a way that the rest of the world doesn't. People see you, but you know you, hopefully. And I do my best every day to show up well. And yet I know there are times I fall short. And I have a wife who everybody loves. As soon as they meet her, they love her. Kids and dogs, we can't get any place on time or back, because if she runs into kids or dogs, it's a conversation, it's a building them up, it's a petting the dogs, and people respond to her in a way that I wish I had that gift. People respond to me well, but not like her. We have some friends in the voiceover business. Friend's wife just came down with a medical problem, and I got the message, and I sent my hey, here's to hope you're well, get better fast. Oh, okay, operation, hope it goes well. And but my wife hit me with, well, honey, let's sit in the backyard and do a videotape and say hello. And that was so the right thing to do, and so much more effective than the thoughts and prayers that I was sending, where she could see our faces, hear our voices. And so we all have some room for growth. I know Jeff and I, sometimes he's paying me to teach him voiceover. And so often we spend a lot of time just talking. I have to keep giving him more lessons for free because he just won't stop talking.
You know what? It's worth every moment. It's worth every moment, Dave. Yeah. Gosh, Dave, we've covered a lot of ground here, and
I talk too fast.
Well, no. We've enjoyed every second, and I mean, Jimbo and I, that's what we want. That we want to not only just put a smile on people's faces, but we want to try to help others like you're doing, Dave, and be an influence. And you said earlier, we all fall short every day, but we're trying to learn our life lessons and get better.
Yeah.
And if we can just be a smidgen of your influence and what you have done and the way you've treated others, Dave, I think we're going to be okay. So I just want to just say thank you.
I'm being lifted up on this pedestal.
There you go. Back to Mars over there. But I don't want to forget this before we go, though. If you're looking for a voiceover teacher, I mean, I don't know anyone better, to be honest with you. I mean, DaveFennoy.com. Don't do that, Dave, because that's truth. DaveFennoy.com.
Thank you.
DaveFennoy.com. And my goodness, I printed out all these credits, but Dave, I mean, you've got that. This is just some of your work. I mean, it's incredible. And so if you get a chance, folks, DaveFennoy.com, you can have one-on-ones with Dave. You can do it remotely. It's all there at his website. Dave, we're going to leave you with this parting shot. Whatever you want to say, take the floor.
Well, you're talking about teaching as well. I really feel like the old biblical thing, that which you give, you will receive tenfold. And just so I get my tenfold, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. I do Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. I bring on various guests in the voiceover business to tell their stories and answer questions from people, aspiring voice actors. And it's every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Facebook Live, 6 p.m. Pacific. And it's no money in it, but it's a way of giving back. And once again, it does keep people coming, and it also shares, because the people I have on also teach, gives them an opportunity to meet with prospective students, and it's just fun. It's kind of like what you guys are doing here. I remember, Jeff, when you told me about, well, hey, it was my buddy Jimbo, man, and we just hit it off, and I can see that, and what you guys are doing, not to make it religious, but it's God's work. Entertaining can be so much more than just entertaining.
Well, thank you, Dave, and we appreciate everything. And you're right; it's all about timing too. And I think this is a good time for Jimbo and I, and we've been very fortunate so far. People have been our guest, and doors are opening, and we'll just see where the good Lord takes us with this.
I remember them back in Art 20 when they were first
Young
getting
whippersnappers.
started. Young whippersnappers.
Yes.
Dave, it was a pleasure meeting you, sir. Very much appreciated you coming on today.
Jimbo, thank you. You've got a very infectious smile. Just the joy in your face is just amazing. And I can see why you two are hitting it off.
Fantastic.
That sounded a little weird there, though, didn't it? Okay. Well, you guys, make a great
Dave,
team.
let me tell you this, Dave. The other night I was, we're staying busy and we're trying to get stuff out there, and I had to go to Jennifer and I said, babe, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I have a new girlfriend. She goes, what? And I said, his name is Jim Kipping.
That's what Peggy said. You're spending more time with Jeff than you are with me. What's going on with that? Dave, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us today, all right?
Thank you, guys.
Dave.
I am honored
All
to be on with you.
Thank you, Dave.
The Jimbo and Jeff Show. The Jimbo and Jeff Show.